Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Oh, hello and happiest of Wednesdays. What, Lou?
Whoa.
What in the hell? How are we starting the show today? Are we doing this?
Trying to show us all your candy or what?
I know. I was like, we get it. You have candy.
Got a good roof here.
Lou Will, Chandler Pete, Michelle Beadle. We got some basketball to talk about. Anthony Slater will be back from The Athletic a little bit later on in the show. But we want to get started with something that I like to call a duh. It's been a great idea this entire time. This is picking up steam now. I think people are sort of aware that Adam Silver has talked a little bit about the All-Star game. Of course, that is this weekend. Always wanting to tweak it, make it better, make it more interesting. He mentioned that USA versus the world is on the table. Just take a second to understand that we've been saying that for a long time. Chandler, would that do anything? Would that float your boat, as the kids like to say?
I don't think the kids say that anymore.
My bad.
The kids
You know what? I really like this. And I think All-Star Weekend, All-Star Game, dunk contest, everything has gotten pretty stagnant and pretty dreadful. So I am open to any ideas. And I think when you look at this format, European guys, especially Wemby, Jokic, they're on record saying that it would mean more to them to win a gold Olympic medal than an NBA championship. They have so much pride for their country. They go back there every off season. So I think when you put this game together, this is how you can get everybody to play hard. You know, Americans are going to want to be the top dog. We've always been the best basketball country in the world. Europe and other countries, they're starting to catch up to us, right? They have a lot of talented guys. And I think a lot of guys that are in the NBA, they probably have 3-4 of the top 5-6 NBA players currently. So I think this would be a perfect way to kind of get everybody to compete, kind of have more pride, more kind of, respect moving forward. This year, you know what? The world's won. Next year, America won. So I think this is great. And I think this is the perfect way to get like an in-season competitive game.
In theory, it's a great idea. In theory. And what Chandler just said about pride, right? Yeah, I get that part. A lot of these guys show pride, especially in the Olympics, all of those things. But when you got a Canadian and a guy from Slovenia and you got a guy from Greece, they don't really care, right? Usually that pride comes from them sharing the court with former teammates or guys that they grew up with, guys that they know what they've gone through to try to be professionals in the NBA but fell short, but still qualify to be on that Olympic team and go hand in hand with you and go to compete shoulder and shoulder. Those guys won't be present. You're still going to be competing with other NBA players that doesn't necessarily represent that pride that you represent, for your country and for your heritage. On the American side, who's gonna show pride in that? It's still gonna be a job to these guys. So on paper, in theory, I love the idea. I think we got a lot of details to work out to the point where this can make sense. If you're going to play some games overseas, where are you going to play these games overseas? Whose country are you going to pick? Somebody's going to feel slighted. And then we're going to have
alternate
the conversation. Yeah, then we're going to have the conversation, well, what about my country? Or then, well, when are we going to do it in America again? And there's going to be a lot of those things. But just the idea alone, that's something that I would get excited about. That would be a game that I would love to see.
And you know what? You like even come the Olympics, what is the main goal for these other countries, Lou? It's to beat America, to beat USA. We are the best basketball country in the world. We always have been. I think we always will be. That is where I think that level of competitiveness, that competitive nature, that pride will come in. And yeah, it is different countries, combining, and it's different countries coming together, but it's also still for the same goal, and that's to beat USA. So I like this a lot. Again, I think in the season and where you're going to play and who can play, who's competing for a championship for their NBA teams, respectively, there's definitely a lot of logistical things to work out. But I would rather play, if I was going to be an All-Star game, I'd rather play against a guy for the world team instead of, the Eastern Conference NBA team. That would mean more to me, even as an American. So listen, I like it. Obviously, there's some things you got to work out, but we're on to something here to make All-Star Weekend at least fun, exciting to watch.
I like the conversation.
I mean, been talking about this for years. I hope we're not pretending this is new. Adam Silver, by the way, did go look. One of the things that he referenced when he has talked about this is the simple math, right? Like there are things that you'd have to take into consideration, and he broke it down that 30% of the league right now is international. So obviously that sort of weighs heavily in favor of a more stacked international team because you got to figure out the math on that. But these are all fixable problems. I'd like to say. If we were to do this, let's just say we start it this weekend. The 12-man rosters for the two teams are pretty legitimate, and I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of loving this. I'm loving this.
When you look at it on paper, I swear the world might be a favorite. Look at.
Of course it is.
I disagree,
SGA,
but it's like no.
Luka, Jokic.
World.
If you rank the top players in the NBA right now, they have the top 4.
But they'll get their ass whooped as soon as they go to their bench. Let's be real.
That's true.
Why would they go to their bench?
The moment they go to their bench, they're getting whooped. I mean, listen, you got guys on the world team that can't make the real team. And so for that puts them at a disadvantage. I'll even go this far. Joel Embiid, put him on the other side. He should be on the world.
Stop.
What?
No, we don't want him.
We
don't want him on the world.
Not from Cameroon? Is Joel Embiid?
No, he's American now. He's a U.S. citizen, so you get to keep him on your side. I got my side covered. Thank you very much.
Joel Embiid is a pride Cameroonian. I hope I said that right. I don't want to disrespect anybody in their culture.
No, he's not. He's not, because he played for Team USA and got U.S. citizenship. So that pride went out the window.
And it started a storm in his home country. And I mind you what I said, his home country, which is not the USA.
He's not even on the team this year. Why would he be on the team? I'm not. There are a few guys on the U.S. team.
Joel Embiid went to high school.
Kristaps Porzingis is not on the team either this year.
And by the way, also, yeah, but he would be hurt. Let's not pretend like that's going to happen either. Like we got to be realistic when we go down these rosters.
I love it. I love these rosters, but the world is very, very top heavy. And when I tell you top heavy, like Chandler just said, maybe 4 out of 5 of these guys are the top players in the league at this moment. But the rest of these guys are from 5 to 15 on the other side, the USA side.
You know how I know this will be a good idea? Because look how spicy we just got talking about who's going to win.
I'm so ready for this.
We're not going to do that this year with the 3 groups of 8. We didn't do this last year with East versus West.
Nope.
This is why I think it's a good idea, because you have that extra confidence, that extra respect, that extra pride when you're talking about your country. And I know there are different countries that are playing for the world, but my God, they will play hard against USA.
And Chandler, you know what? Just on the basketball side, it's only 3 ball handlers on the world team. So like they're bigs.
One.
They're all bigs. Nikola Jokic. I'll take Giannis off. I'll take Wembanyama off. Sabonis, Siakam, Sengun, Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, France, and Karl Anthony Towns is from the DR. That's almost America. Like,
no, it's not. It is not America.
That's a little.
It is not.
But they're all bigs.
The dude went to Kentucky and he lives in Hidden Hills, for God's sake.
But y'all want Joel Embiid to be American? What are we doing here?
He wanted to be American. We're not giving him citizenship. No, he wanted that. By the way, he not only wanted that, it was after he professed his love for France. So let's not get it twisted. Joel Embiid.
We want a lot of things. We want a lot of things. And yes, he was an Olympian. He did get a gold medal with the USA team. That confused me the whole time while he was even on the team. But he was, so I respect that part. But if this comes down to it, I'm going to be the first person to raise my hand in the technicality. He got to go that way. He got to go.
No, and by the way, once again, will not be healthy come All-Star time. So it's a moot point if we're talking about Joel Embiid. It ain't happening, regardless of what team you want to put.
Well, it's a few of these guys.
I love this.
It's a few of these guys that won't qualify, but you're going to have to fill out teams, and the world is going to have an issue finding 12 guys before the USA will.
Not my guys. I'm Team World. I can't tell you how much I want this to happen. More than anything, really.
You've made that
anything
clear.
In my whole life. I want this.
You know what the kids do say? Belt to ass. That's what the kids say.
B2A? I thought it was something else.
Yeah, I learned B2A yesterday. I wasn't ready for that one.
My
Blue
point
and I
is,
are getting so cool.
Look at this debate that it's just an idea, and we're all jazzed up about it. It would be.
I love this so much.
anything different than what we're doing right now, All-Star Weekend, would be a hit. Besides this new format they got going in a couple weeks,
which we still, by the way, still don't get and probably won't get until it happens. As I'm watching it in live, I don't get it at all. By the way, so all of the major American sports leagues, it's kind of interesting, right? Because we're sitting here talking about the international product that is. But again, I don't want to besmirch or undervalue sort of baseball's obviously got a huge international flair. Hockey's always been a huge international product. Really, football's the only one that is pretty much North American. So where do you guys rank the NBA as far as the other leagues and sort of what they can do on the global stage? Chandler.
Well, it's NFL is one for America, and then I think
that's all. That's all.
Yeah. Then NBA I think would be two. I think when you look across the board, MLB is the South America, the Latin team that they're about to put together might be the best team ever that the world is going to put together for the MLB. Obviously, soccer. The American tennis is kind of making a push. We got like 4 or 5 guys in the top 15. But listen, like Lou said, the NBA, it's the greatest basketball in the world. And I think European and other countries they're definitely catching up. And when you look at that list, it's pretty glaring that, SGA, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, those 4 guys are the best 4 players in the NBA. And our American stars, we're in this weird shift right now where KD, Steph, LeBron, they're kind of on the way out. So we have this new group of stars, the Anthony Edwards, the Brunsons, the Devin Bookers, who are kind of these up and coming stars. So we have to see what they turn into, but they're definitely catching up. And you can see that in the Olympics, how these games are getting tighter and tighter. These spreads are getting smaller and smaller every time USA plays another country. So I think it's great for the game. The basketball has become such a global sport, even in Asia and Africa, you're everywhere, not just America. So I think it's awesome, but it does make for an interesting, format for All-Star Weekend.
God, I wish it was happening 2 days.
Really,
okay, we had. I just love it. It makes my heart beat faster. We had some movement yesterday. Hey, there weren't a lot. Look, there are not a lot of centers in the buyout market. We are officially in that part of the year, but the Lakers did get a big man in Alex Len. He's 31 years old. He's averaging 1.4 points and 1.8 rebounds. I did the points on that one because they're not quite two. That's per game for the Kings this season. Lou, obviously a lot of things went wrong. The Mark Williams thing fell out. So how are we feeling about this pickup?
They went and got some size, and that's what matters. They were looking to go get some size and patch up some things that they had going on their interior defense and offense. Looking for another guy that's going to be a lob threat, that's going to be able to screen, set picks, roll hard. And Alex Len was the guy. I don't mean to laugh, but he hasn't been very productive on the team that he was on, and the expectation level that you have when you put on that purple and gold, wherever he just came from, I believe it was Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. The expectation level from Sacramento to the Los Angeles Lakers is completely different. So that 1 point and that 1 rebound a game, it's not going to cut it. You're gonna have to get your chops up and get going and be a productive member of this basketball team to make this signing make sense to us, especially when you go from Anthony Davis to Mark Williams to Alex Len. No disrespect to Alex Len, the product level just not there as far as those other 2 guys go, and fans pay attention. Like I said, the Los Angeles Lakers are one of those teams that they are invested in their team a little bit more dangerously than a lot of other fan bases. They feel like they are a part of this team. I don't know if they're excited about this signing or not, but you had to do something. This was who was available, and this who you had to go out and get. But man, if this doesn't go right, the storm that we're starting to see down in Dallas, and this team kind of goes on a slide, and let it be on the back of them not having any interior defense or somebody that can give them a bucket or 2 every once in a while in the inside, because they're not going to expect him to be a 10, 15 point a night guy like Mark Williams was. They're not going to expect that. He's going to have to do the small, intangible things to be successful in LA. I don't know if this is the right guy for the job, and that's the nicest way I can say it, Chandler. There you go.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, and then proceeds to laugh. Chandler, what do you think? I mean, it is definitely when you say it like Anthony Davis, and then Mark Williams, and now we ended up here. It does feel a little anticlimactic.
It's definitely anticlimactic, but again, who's out there? I heard they were looking at JaVale McGee, and there's a small market. And
I'll take that.
And at the end of the day, they needed size, right? And apparently there's this investigation going on where they're still trying to get this Mark Williams trade going, which, by the way, how does that make Dalton Connect feel? They're looking
Not
into
good.
this, still trying to actively get rid of you. That's a whole nother can of worms. But listen, at the end of the day, Alex Len, he's a good dude. I played with him in Atlanta. He's 6 fouls to give. He's good size to go up when they do have to go against a Jokic in the playoffs, or, the Thunder with Hartenstein and Chet. Anthony Davis, if we can only hope that the Lakers face the Mavs in the playoffs. It's just some more size, some more beef, for them down low, and they had to do it. They have to sign somebody. They're so, strong everywhere else on the floor that they had to go and get a big. And look, Alex Len, his stats are 1 point and 1 rebound. I'm sure his minutes are very low, and he hasn't had that much opportunity, but at the end of the day, it's just a big that they have there available to guard some of these dominant bigs in the Western Conference.
Couldn't we get like Boogie or maybe Dwight Howard out of retirement? I know Dwight Howard's busy sharing his toothbrush online, which is gross, and we can get into that.
Dwight, he's been out there promoting and trying to get his name in some of these talks, and when you land here, maybe that is a viable conversation that you may need to have at this point. Chandler just reduced the man down to 6 fouls. Like, come on, man.
He did. He did.
You want to know a fun fact about Alex
scouting
Len?
report? Go, sure.
I got traded to Atlanta my last year. I offered him $50,000 for his jersey number 25, and he told me no. So the dude doesn't need the money. He does not need the money. So he might.
He just didn't. He didn't know that at the time. Like maybe that's $50,000. I mean, you can have it. What are we?
And by the way, I ended up playing like 7 games, and my warm up barely came off. So it would have been a very bad investment for me.
Exactly, but a great thing for him. All right, we're gonna go around the league. Joel Embiid, look, this has been a rough year to say the least. Team USA's Joel Embiid been through a lot, but this right here is the end of the game, right? This is that could have been the tie. That would have been the tie, but it didn't happen, and there you go. Grady Dick with the steal. Guys, Chandler, what do we do with this? I mean, the fans were not happy. They booed very loudly at this.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's just a turnover, right? It's a bad play. It's careless. He's kind of dribbling into a triple team there, but he looked good last night. He was 8 of 19, 27 and 12. When he plays, he even at 50%, he puts up numbers and he's productive, and he's still a force to be reckoned with. So the slander, I get that play was bad. They're not winning. Everything's under a magnifying glass when your team is losing, especially when you're the Sixers and you had such high hopes and great expectations. Listen, I'd love him just to shoot this ball. He's wide open, right? Or at least go to a dribble handoff where the big is down low and then there's no help. But obviously, hindsight, you're looking down by 2. Like win the game.
That would have been
Is it 3? Am I tripping? I thought I just saw the score.
It was 3.
They are.
Didn't it say 106, 103, and then Nat said 105, 103?
Yeah, that's even worse.
No, they're down 2.
You're not going to get a much better look. That's just a poor decision. Obviously, you don't want to see a turnover there. You just want to get anything other than that. But it's just a play.
The final score is 106, 103. I believe that was the score, or maybe that was, I don't know. But
they get a free throw for no reason?
He's a capable shooter. I don't know why he wouldn't shoot that one. But damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he misses that shot, we don't want our big shooting threes. And if he does anything else, we're gonna find something to complain about either way. That turnover is just cringy. The fans are upset. And look at who they're playing. They're playing a Toronto Raptors team that's trying to get it together as well. So when you look at that, you probably feel like this is a winnable game. This is a game we should go away with. And ain't no telling how they were playing before that, So getting booed is just another thing in Philly. That's part of the day.
By the way, but down 1, down 2, down 3, I don't care what you're down. That's a great look. He's got to shoot that ball.
You got to shoot that. Yeah, absolutely.
How many threes did he take last night? That's what I need to look up anyway.
He should have had one more, whatever it was.
He should have had one more. And I think the thing that Chandler said that sticks out the most is everything is under a magnifying glass.
Last night.
All right, so he wasn't okay, but you think they would have booed louder if he had taken the 3 and missed, or if it had ended? Because I'm thinking they booed way louder because of the way this fizzled out than if you just take the 3 and miss.
You need to get a shot up. You need to get an attempt. Turnover is the worst thing that could possibly happen in that situation.
Absolutely. Hindsight's 20/20, but when you have a defender that's 10 feet away from you and daring you to shoot, and you're Joel Embiid and you're a capable shooter, you got to let that one fly.
Also,
Joel Embiid.
Tyrese Maxey was 1 for 9 with 5 points. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about one play at the end of the game for a turnover.
Well, Nick Nurse By the way, Nick Nurse after that one also said that something's off with Maxey. So that's something to keep your eye on as well, which is a bummer because he's been the only constant throughout this entire thing for Philadelphia. There was another game last night in the East, the Knicks and the Pacers. Easy money. Cat with 40.
Dominicans.
Josh Hart. Yeah, Dominican Republic's Cat. Josh Hart had 30. Halliburton was 16 and 8. But let's talk Cat on this one because he's got 40 points, 12 rebounds. Brunson was in foul trouble pretty early. He only had 8. No worries. Cat having a career year. He's averaging 24 and 13 and a half rebounds. As far as centers in the East, Lou, is there anybody better than him?
Can't think of anybody that's even close. He's championed the position. He's reemerged as one of the best bigs in the league, not just the Eastern Conference. He's put himself in that conversation. And we were just having this dialogue about Joel Embiid, right? Like, if you look at these clips, Cat, he's making passes, he's playmaking, he's putting the ball on the floor, he's been aggressive at the rim, shooting threes in the transition. Like, he's giving you everything that you can possibly desire from the center position, and he's doing it at a high clip. You got to give him his credit where it's due. He's half of the reason that this New York Knicks team is playing the way that they are. And I love just the resurgence of Cat from coming from Minnesota to here, to the point they were calling him soft in Minnesota, calling him all of these names, anything but aggressive. Now you look at the way that he's playing in New York, the way that he's carrying it down in New York City. Like, he's probably one of the more aggressive guys on this team, and it's working for him. So by far one of the best centers in the East. And I would go as far as putting him in the top 3 conversation for the entire league.
Yeah, I agree. He had a hell of a year. Like, what an easy transition. He's one of those guys. He's so good offensively. You can put him on any system, any team, and he's going to thrive. 13 and a half rebounds, too. Like, I think only Sabonis is above him, but that's a lot of boards. With Joel Embiid injured, with Bam's struggles, yeah, it's not even close. He's the best center in the East. And like Lou said, I mean, Anthony Davis, Jokic, those guys at Wemby, I guess he's a center, but yeah, he's had a hell of a year, and he does things differently than those guys do. Offensively, he can really shoot the ball. He picks and pops. He puts defenses in binds because you can't really put a smaller guy on him because he's capable of posting you up and using his size. Can't put a bigger guy on him because he's got such guard skills and such great touch where he can beat you off the dribble. He can stretch you from the outside. So he's had an unbelievable year, and it's tough to go to a team that's already so good and fit in and be dominant. And he's done that, with ease.
This is what's been funny about this week, right? Because up until this trade deadline, the Minnesota Timberwolves were getting, and they deserved it, a lot of heat because they got rid of Cat, and they are what they are, and the Knicks look the way they do. And then Dallas trades Luka away, and it almost sort of lightens the load on what Minnesota fans must feel. But then you watch a game like this, and if you're a Timberwolves fan, are you as angry as Mavs fans seem to be right now about the Luka sitch, Chandler? Because you had a great thing, and then you changed it, and you didn't have to.
I don't think they're I think if they traded Anthony Edwards, they'd be as angry. I think he's more on that level of Luka, but they have every right to be upset. This trade, me and Lou have said this since the minute this trade's happened. The timing never made sense. They were a team that was such on the rise. Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns were such a great fit. Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert were such a great fit. And again, no knock to Julius Randle. He's a stud. He can go get you buckets. He's going to put up a lot of good numbers. He doesn't fit with this personality. He doesn't fit with Anthony Edwards. He doesn't fit with the two big lineup with Rudy Gobert. And you can see that Naz Reid's having more success, on this team. So it's definitely, the fans are probably upset because you also see how good he's playing on the Knicks and how much they're winning and the setback the Timberwolves have. We thought the Timberwolves were going to be this team that were going to take the next step, right? Then they go and trade their second best player, and it just doesn't make sense, and it hasn't panned out yet. So yeah, they'd be upset as Luka. No, I think we would get that reaction if they moved an Ant, because I think they're two different levels, but they have every right to be pissed because this did not make sense.
But then they trade Ant in the darkness of night. They don't even tell anyone. That's what made it even worse, truly. Taking a quick break. When we come back, he's back from The Athletic. Anthony Slater joins the show. We're talking more hoops on the other side.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Welcome back. Chandler looks shocked. Welcome back. This is Run It Back on a Wednesday. We're going to bring in Anthony Slater right now from The Athletic. Oh, he's putting chapstick on. Like, Anthony, we are very professional here at Run It Back. We got makeup going on in Chandler's box. Lou, I don't know what he's doing, but you're here on time and ready to go, and we appreciate you for it.
Stop talking about my box.
In some hotel room.
I'll never. I know, right? Where are, like, that is serial killer-ish.
Yeah. Dallas. Top 5 of a 6-game trip. So I almost forgot I was in Dallas. It's at that point of the road trip.
Any protests or riots outside the hotel? Or you
how's the outside?
Yeah, it seems okay right now. I'll let you know tonight. It's going to be interesting. 8:30 local tip tonight. So I don't know if that even, yeah, I know.
Not
I hate
acceptable.
it, but yeah.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
That's West Coast basketball in Texas, right?
That really is, because I'm in Texas right now, and an 8:30 start is a no-go for me. And P.S., does the air feel sad? Because I want to know if the air in Dallas just feels different this time around.
It's actually colder than I thought it was going to be. It was really cold in Milwaukee, and I was like, all right, well, at least I'm going to Dallas, and then it's like 40 degrees. So
no, Luka took everything with him. It's all gone. Let's talk Warriors before we get to all the rest of it, too, because don't look now. You get Jimmy Butler. 2-0. I don't think it's a coincidence. Is the vibe? How is the vibe around the team since the trade?
Really good. He just does so much of what they didn't do. I mean, particularly like he has 28 free throws in 2 games. They haven't had anybody since Kevin Durant in 2018 who had 13 free throws in consecutive games. He just did it. He's getting to the rim. They haven't done that. He had 4 steals the other night, kind of sneaky, disruptive steals. So they've been glowing about his help side defense. He's come in and really kind of lifted the spirits of the whole organization, which is funny though, because then when you talk to him, he's like, I'm not playing well. I'm not in good enough shape. I don't have lift on my jumper. I'll be a lot better. But then you talk to everybody else, they're like, we just got this great player. They're in such a good mood about him.
Well, he's in honeymoon phase. That's where he's humble and like self-deprecate. We do all this, Jimmy. This is very human.
He's paid,
but here's what I want.
They paid him. That's the big deal. They gave him a 2-year extension coming in, and he can't even be eligible for an extension for a while here. So as he's made the point to me that the issues have always been with management, right? He doesn't really have that many issues historically with teammates.
No, God, I feel I am Jimmy Butler. Can I ask you a question though? Because it went from not going to the Warriors to then they pursue KD. KD's like, no, thank you. Then ends up with Jimmy Butler. So there was a lot of sort of movement, then not movement. What exactly went down?
Yeah, they spent about a week trying to get Kevin Durant in somewhat of a clandestine, secretive way. But by the time that Durant got to the Bay Area on the Friday prior to the deadline, and his business manager, Rich Kleiman, sitting next to Joe Lacob, that's starting to leak to Kevin Durant that the Warriors are after him, and even to the public, right? We start putting reports out that this is, being attempted to happen behind the scenes. And Steph Curry had a conversation with Kevin Durant that weekend prior to the deadline, which according to him, he knew pretty much right away, hey, look, Kevin doesn't really want to come back. I don't really know why we're pursuing this that hard. But, the Warriors front office and ownership, maybe, it was put to me that they were maybe a little bit, they underrated how much Kevin Durant didn't want to come back. So they tried up until about Tuesday before it became clear, it wasn't the right path. And by that point, Jimmy Butler, who's, by the way, his eyes were elsewhere too, right? He wanted Phoenix. He'd come to the realization that wasn't going to happen. So then these two kind of almost had a, marriage of I guess coincidence, or, they were almost second on each other's lists. But now, that they're, like you said, in the honeymoon phase.
That's crazy. So the KD thing was never going to really happen. It's a bit of a bummer. I think we started to get kind of excited about it.
Well, they could have done it without his wishes. But I think as they came to, realize how much he was like, behind the scenes, like, please don't do this. They were, having 2019 flashbacks in their mind where it was like an unhappy Kevin Durant who didn't want to be there. And in a lot of ways, they went to the finals. They probably would have won it if he doesn't get hurt. They were a great team, but it was a really unhappy season. We don't need to go back and rehash all that. Everybody remembers most of it. But they just decided they didn't want to bring in somebody who didn't necessarily want to be there, especially a person they've already experienced that with. So instead they pivoted to Butler, who theoretically wanted to be in Phoenix, but you could tell, especially with the money now, he's really happy to be there. And that is a big difference.
Yeah, and I think locking him up, giving him that extension, obviously you're going to get the best version of him, right? At 35 years old, you kind of have to do that. You have to maximize the Steph Curry window, which after the game the other night, he says every possession just doesn't feel as hard with Jimmy on the floor. Like, do you see a different rejuvenated Steph Curry as well, just from bringing in Jimmy?
Yeah, 34 points, 38 points. Hit 8 threes the other night. He's still getting doubled, but as he said, he feels so much more confident when he gets it out of the double team, like something good's going to happen. Steph also called them opposite players, which I thought was like a really interesting way to put it. Basically, Steph's taken 16 threes against Chicago. Jimmy Butler's taken one. Steph is not getting to the line. Jimmy Butler's getting to the line 13 times. They just didn't have anybody, especially with Jonathan Kuminga out, that was pressuring the rim at all. And now, I think Steph feels confident, not only getting it over to Jimmy through the course of the game, but they haven't had to close out a close game yet. That's been such a problem for them this season. As Steve Kerr's already mentioned, he believes, late in these frantic games when sometimes Steph's turning it over, or they blew a 10-point lead to Utah, early on this road trip before Butler got here. The plan now is to give the ball to Jimmy Butler, slow the game down, milk the clock, hopefully he can get to the line, set up the defense. So they just believe not only did they need an infusion of talent and a co-star for Steph Curry, but they kind of got the perfect style of player next to Steph Curry.
What does this mean for Jonathan Kuminga? I feel like him and Jimmy are kind of similar players, like that he's their future cornerstone. They obviously didn't have to give up much. They kept him, they kept Pods, they kept Moody. But if you're Jonathan Kuminga, you kind of just signed this similar player for a lot of money for 2 more years. How do they kind of utilize him still?
Yeah, there's the positive way to look at it and the negative way to look at it. The positive way is there's a belief that this could be like a perfect, I guess, prototype for Kuminga to look at. And I went into the locker room the other day in Chicago, and he's immediately calling me over like, I love this guy. I love to watch how he plays because it's like power driving. It's the stuff that I think Kuminga needs to maximize. Like, look at Jimmy Butler and try to be that type of offensive player. And I think in a way like Jimmy mentoring him could be a good thing. They're trying to say they could do small type lineups where it's, Steph, Moses, Moody, Kuminga, Draymond, and Butler. And you switch a lot. Maybe they've got this new young stretch 5, Quentin Post at 4 threes the other night. Maybe you throw him out there. But, it's wings in the NBA. You could throw like size, similar type wings on the court together and they can kind of co-inhabit it. But you mentioned the money. Butler's making $54 million next season, whereas Andrew Wiggins, who they traded out the door, was making $28 million. So it's a lot more crowded on the books. I'm actually writing a story about it right now. I talked to Joe Lacob. He says they're still committed to playing Kuminga long term. They're clearly going to be a big tax team next year. They're going to be close to the second apron if they bring Jonathan Kuminga back. But his max is about $38 million. Maybe there's probably going to be negotiations. You're talking between like high 20s and that $38 million mark. But as long as they're willing to go deep into the tax and near the second apron, you theoretically could fit Kuminga in. But I think we will find out the rest of the season if it is the right type of on-court fit and if they can win with this type of core. And if so, I think they'll pay him. But if not, maybe they do shake up the roster more this summer.
And Anthony, you wrote about this with the Warriors win over the Bucks that, Jimmy was gassed, getting back on the floor, trying to get his legs back up under him. How do the Warriors manage him and Steph Curry moving forward? Because all of these games are going to matter, and they're going to need those guys on the floor. How are they going to manage that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Jimmy said Jimmy wants to play right now, right? It's part of the reason he's gassed. He said he was in San Diego a little bit and was able to get some 5-on-5 runs, but he basically didn't play basketball for a month. But he wants to play himself into shape, so he wants to be on the court. For example, they got a back-to-back right now: Dallas tonight, Houston tomorrow night. I expect him to play in both games. He thinks his prediction was coming out of the All-Star break. He'll kind of feel a little bit more 100%. But I think even if he played the rest of the games this season, he's only going to end up playing 40-something games. So I think he's okay. As far as Steph goes, early in the season, they wouldn't let him play back-to-backs because knee tendonitis. Right now, they say the knees aren't barking as much, number one. But number two, they're desperate right now. They are targeting the 6th seed, which means they need to leap about 3 or 4 teams here, including the Clippers and Timberwolves, which means they need every win. Tonight is a huge game in the standings. If they win tonight, they're ahead of the Mavericks. So Steph's going to play, and again, I think Jimmy's presence limits his burden, which matters. Every minute is still a lot on his body. He's going to turn 37 next month, but with Jimmy around, theoretically, a 34 minutes isn't as hard as it was a couple weeks ago. So it's a good question, but I think they're just going to keep playing these guys because they got to win games.
So
absolutely.
jumbled.
And we just spoke about Jonathan Kuminga, but on the basketball side of it, in that same game against the Bucks, Warriors went to a small ball lineup with Draymond at the 5. How does this impact Jonathan Kuminga when he comes back into this lineup, especially with them playing some small ball?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Kuminga has been at his best historically when he's been the 4, which means Draymond either has to not be on the floor or be the 5. You do wonder, like with Draymond, with Kuminga, with Butler on the floor, that's 3 kind of non-shooters. You're probably going to need Jimmy Butler to take a few more threes. He's only taken 3 so far in 2 games. Kuminga, he's the defenses are probably going to leave Jonathan Kuminga, but he's gotten a lot better as a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He can hit mid 30%, so he's probably going to have to hit a lot of threes down the stretch. But I think the 2 lineups that I kind of mentioned that I think they're most intrigued with are those small ball Draymond Green at the 5 type units where they just feel like they can maybe turn teams over a lot and get out and run. And historically, that has been the Warriors at their best. And then I know he's not a name that many people know, but this kid Quentin Post, he's hitting step back threes. The other night he hit a 28-footer. He's a 7-footer. They haven't had a stretch 5 in a long time. And I think if he could keep shooting the 3 well and survive defensively, then I think that they can kind of create lineups that make a lot more sense, because if your center can shoot threes, you can play these downhill wings together.
We have not talked to you, Anthony, since all the crazy trade stuff, right? And obviously the Luka one was mind-blowing. It reached over all facets. Even if you're not an NBA fan, you had an opinion on it. So for you, did it feel like it was just a shift in what's possible as far as trades go in this league?
Yeah, and it felt like, look, the Warriors were going to be aggressive regardless. And by the time that Luka was traded, they were already like behind the scenes trying to nudge the Suns on Durant. So I think they would have been aggressive anyways, but it did feel like it just upped the temperature of everybody. Like, you got to get something done, especially the Lakers, right? It felt like they were in this parallel universe with the Lakers where they had these, legendary players that were playing out their final days on these teams that just didn't have enough around them to win. And then suddenly LeBron has Luka. It was like, you better get Steph somebody. So again, I mean, maybe that's the world I'm operating in because I'm mostly around the Warriors, but it did feel like it upped the desperation level to make a big splash. And maybe Jimmy Butler's on this team regardless of if Luka Doncic is still in Dallas or not. But it did feel like it opened up the world to what maybe, more is possible.
Anything feels possible at this point. Were you shocked, by the way? Because we've talked to a few people. Obviously, we were all shocked. What were you?
Yeah. No, trust me. If I knew Luka Doncic was being shopped, I would have reported it. I would have had it out to y'all.
It's the most breaking news in history.
How about if Wemby got traded? Would that one shock you?
I would riot. I'd be honest with you. I would riot.
Did you? Anthony, every player is now on notice. Obviously, the Wembys, the Jokic are less on notice, but come trade deadline, I think everyone's thinking, okay, anything is possible now moving forward after this Luka trade.
Except
I remember
for
talking to Draymond in the aftermath, and his name was being like quietly kind of floated out a little bit during those Durant talks, and you could tell he was a little bit more, maybe on edge as the deadline was nearing, partly because of what happened with Luka.
Man, everyone got a humbled moment in that one. Anthony Slater, we appreciate you. Enjoy Dallas. Can't wait to hear the vibe reports for the game for you tonight.
I'm just gonna be walking around the stands, seeing what the security guards are doing tonight.
People getting kicked out.
I just hope I don't get kicked out tonight.
Don't say anything about Nico Harrison. You'll be fine.
They're running back, yeah.
Well, it's the newest, the latest, the greatest, the power rankings. Gentlemen, top 10. Take it away, Chandler.
Are your engines. All right, Lou, here we go. The 10th best team in the NBA right now. We have the Milwaukee Bucks. I think with the addition of Kyle Kuzma, I think he does make them better. He makes them younger. Also, anytime you make a move at the deadline like that, just kind of gives you a fresh face, hope. Kyle Kuzma's always been really good with good players. Put him with Dame, put him with Giannis. I think he's really going to help this team. Eastern Conference, obviously top loaded, but I think this team's going to continue to win games, and they might even move up these rankings.
And at number 9, we're going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Chandler and I, we did make these picks pre-injury, wheels falling off of the Dallas Mavericks. If we'd have known that all of this was going to happen, we probably would have put a Minnesota or Clippers team right here. But we felt good about Dallas. So they're at number 9 with the power rankings, with the way that that team is built. If they can get healthy, make a push for it, I still like them at number 9. But I think if they can get everybody on the same page, maybe they can get down in the numbers. But it looks like this team is going backwards instead of forward. So right now we got the Dallas Mavericks at number 9.
Number 8, I'm going to stay there in Texas. I'm going to go the Houston Rockets. This is kind of my surprise team of the year, right? I'm not really a believer for a championship contender this year, the Rockets, but they're such a young team. They're so well coached. They defend. They can score the basketball. They struggled a little bit late. I think they're 4-6 their last 10 games. There's a lot of teams that made moves at the deadline that I think that made themselves better. Houston kind of stayed there in the same situation, but regardless, they're 13 games over 500. They had a hell of a year, and the way they play, they're going to be a tough out for anybody in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're sliding a little bit, but I like them at 8. And number 7, we have the LeBron-Luka Lakers at number 7. I think this team has the potential to get down in numbers, but right now, I don't see them cracking that top 5 with the way that some of these other teams are playing, that the way that they're trending. I like them at 7. They got to figure out what they're going to do in the interior with the signing of Alex Len and some of these other guys. They're going to have to get production from a lot of places. So for that reason, I'm still unsure about them cracking the top 5. I got Lakers at 7.
At number 6, I got the New York Knicks. I think I would have had them higher if they didn't just get blasted by the Celtics the other day, because it kind of really opened up my eyes that they are a step behind. Also, they're the 5th best offense, the 20th best defense. I would think those two stats would be switched with that versatility, with Josh Hart, OG, Bridges. I feel like they can all guard 1 through 5. They have to find ways to get stops, to be a better defensive team, I think, to compete with the Celtics and the Cavs to get out of the Eastern Conference. But the addition of Cat, Jalen Brunson's playing at elite level. They are going to be a tough out as well, because they do have the capability of defending, and offensively, Cat is rolling, Jalen Brunson's rolling. You get guys like Josh Hart having 30 last night, so they're hitting you from different angles. And again, depth is always an issue with this team, but the New York Knicks are a tough team, and they definitely got better.
I like that one. At number 5, let's go with the Memphis Grizzlies, led with Ja Morant, obviously. Then you got Jaren Jackson, who's an all-star this year. Then you got your supporting cast. You got Bane. You got other guys that's giving you good production. G.G. Jackson coming off the bench. Scottie Pippen Jr. has been playing amazing. Give a lot of these young guys credit where it's due. Grit and grind, that's been their identity. That's been who they are this entire time, and that's gotten them in the top 5. That's gotten them in a great position in the Western Conference. I look for this team to make a lot of noise, to be very disruptive in the Western Conference. I got them cracking the top 5 at the top spot at number 5 at plus 3,100.
By the way, I'll say this too. Everyone talks about the Spurs, the Thunder being young. The Grizzlies start Wells and Edey, 2 rookies. They're getting G.G. Jackson. They also are a very, very young team. Number 4, I like the Denver Nuggets, probably the hottest team in the NBA right now, 7 in a row. Jokic is balling. And again, this is a team that a lot of guys thought the window was closing early on, me included to a point. They've turned it around. They're getting a little bit from everything. Jokic is healthy. They're healthy. Their bench is getting more. Christian Brown, is putting up 30 balls the other night. They're starting to figure out their identity. They're starting to get more comfortable. And when you got Jokic doing Jokic things, you are going to win a lot of games. So hottest team in the league. They're in the 3 seed right now. Don't look now, but they're in the 3 seed. So Denver Nuggets, I got as the 4th.
I like them at 4. And number 3, that's kind of surprising to us, but I felt like it was appropriate. We got the Boston Celtics coming in at number 3. They've been slow and steady all year. I don't know how they've been able to pull it off, but they've been under the radar kind of. You hadn't heard a lot of storylines, haven't heard a lot of criticism, a lot of things coming out of Boston. They've just been winning, being steady, constantly building. The emergence of Peyton Pritchard's has been a surprise. I still got him as my 6-man pick, but this thing starts with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Those are going to be the heads of the snake. And then you still have those tangible pieces in the Drew Holidays, Al Horfords, Porzingis when he's healthy. They got a lot of different guys that's going to play well. I almost forgot to mention Derek White in the way that he's been playing. This team is groomed and ready to go for a deep playoff run, but we still got two teams that deserves more respect than them right now based on the emergence of those two teams. So for that, still a very, very dangerous team to come out of the East. I still got them coming out of the East, but right now I got the Boston Celtics at number 3.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously the Celtics people still respect, I think, more. I think they're still a team to beat in the Eastern Conference, but you cannot overlook the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 2. They're 43-10. They're a great home team. They're 25-4 at home. They're also a great road team at 18-6. So come playoff time, I don't think this team will get rattled on the road in crazy environments. They're hot right now still. They've won 3 in a row. They also added DeAndre Hunter, which is huge. There's going to be a huge hole to fill with the minivan, the G-Wagon, Georgie Niang now out of there, but DeAndre Hunter is a great pickup for them. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's really expanded his game. He's giving you 19, 20 points a game. And again, when you start looking at the teams they have to go through, the Knicks, the Celtics, DeAndre Hunter is now that guy that can guard those wings that can go and get buckets. So Cavs had a hell of a year. Atkinson, to me, is the runaway coach of the year, what he's done to this team. And they're right now, I think, at the number 2 spot.
And at the number 1, the clear favorite in the Western Conference, led by none other than SGA, you got to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been steady. They've been consistent. Even with injuries and everything that they've gone through, this team hasn't wavered not one bit. And they got stronger at the trade deadline by adding a couple pieces in size and what they need on the interior. So for that reason, this is by far one of the best teams in the league. They're number 1 on our power rankings, just the way that they've been going about business. We love to see the consistency. Cleveland has been consistent, right? But we haven't seen them do it in the postseason. Oklahoma City was one of those teams in the postseason. We could see the potential and where they were going, and they come back this year even stronger. So for that reason, I like them at number 1. Chandler, what's your reason?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they do it all. This is all without pretty much Chet for the entire season. Now you have Chet back, who's kind of their second best player, since he's been there. Jalen Williams, obviously an all-star this year, and stepped up his game. But they've added size. They filled every hole they need. They have so many guys: Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Mitchell Williams. Like they have so many deep guys that not the everyday fan would even know who they are, and they just know their role. They play hard. They defend. And they are led by arguably the greatest young leader in all of sports in SGA.
Yep, one of the stars of Team World. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up here at Run It Back. Why don't we use these last couple to show a little love to Kevin Durant, 8th player in NBA history to reach 30,000 points. So what'd you think about this one, Chandler? And by the way, it came on a free throw. Don't you love that?
You know what's crazy is he's not done either. And you look at the guys ahead of him, Wilt, Dirk, MJ, Kobe, Karl Malone. By the time he's done, he's probably going to get to the top 3, top 4. It's crazy what he's done. This is the dude that they kind of shit on during the combine because he couldn't bench press 185, and he's the 8th all-time scorer in the history of the NBA. So give him his flowers. He's one of the best to do it. At his size, his touch, he's incredible. I couldn't be a bigger fan. So happy for Kevin Durant on this accomplishment because there's only 7 people on the face of the earth that's ever done it.
Yep.
Amazing accomplishment. And he did it easy. Like, we never see Kevin Durant under distress when he has the basketball in his hands. So for over 15, 16 years, for him to be able to get to 30K and do it at his pace, salute my brother. More and more to come.
Darius Garland is back tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday, ladies and gents.
Run it back, run it up, 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 and run it back.